Everybody. So yeah, yesterday I uploaded the 1 hour video. So it's like 3 days, 4 days later for you. But I typically either get a like or a dislike about, I don't know. Like I'll probably get like in 2 weeks I'll probably get like two likes, so one like a week, and then a dislike every other week or so. Um, and someone liked that 1 hour video. That really shocked me because that thing was a doozy. But anyways, yeah. So yesterday, in video days, not in calendar days, uh, I had gotten it to where when you do a scene and well, something is now wrong. None linear exponential. So, okay, so something is a little goofy there, a little off because if we go to there, I know the default for fog is none. So it should be showing the none. Um, a little bit confused at why it isn't. Let's see where we have what is going on here. Um, so basically, I believe this effect happens, and then this fog is set. So let's just, I don't know, just old school, an alert, this dot scene dot fog. I think we'll probably, maybe get two alerts. So we got nothing. Oh, interesting. So we never do get that. Um, let's see. So this effect is fired off anytime the three service scene item values is fired. So it is weird. Let's console log the scene dot log. Ooh, I was, let's see, this dot scene. It is a Monday for me, so I'm not quite at the top of my game. Um, so on line 58, I also do a console log, or this is probably my console log. So fog is blank. I don't even I don't even know how that's possible because the when we create a scene, okay, so there's that. I thought that when we created well, first of all, I thought a scene couldn't even be blank. Like it had to have a value in there. The scene interface, it has to be a linear none or x2. And so let's see where this thing gets set. I would have thought it would get set in the scene manager. No, not in the scene manager, in the scene service. And it would be in the Showtime scene service, would have been my guess. Yeah, and here's where we create it. It doesn't have an ID to begin with, but it does have this fog value to begin with. Mm. So let's go down to our 3 service. And which one was that? Let's close that guy. Scene manager, it's listening for scene item values. So let's go to that thing. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just have this thing. We'll just I think I can just say return. Yeah, now it's happy. So let's console log this dot scene single. Yeah, so this. So whatever it got up there, that's what we're gonna do. We are going to console log, and then we'll just put the word publishing next to it. And let's just see what we got here. So scoot that over a little bit. So we are publishing, and fog is blank. How can that be? Let's see. Let's see, get scene. That returns this scene item 0. This scene item 0 has a fog of none. Console.log, get scene. Yeah, I am like just truly befuddled by this. It's very confusing. Because you know it's getting set to fog of none. Fog of none. Fog is blank. Fog is an empty string. But here, fog is not blank. That is so strange. Dude, you're being such a weirdo. Let's see. Fog is none. All right, let's see. Let's step out of this bad boy. Let's see, will it show me this? No, it won't really show me. But let's go ahead and I don't even know what to do. Okay, so we're back in here. Get scene item. Fog is none. Oh, let's look at the console. Fog is none. Okay. That's weird. You're being weird. So weird. Publishing. Fog is none. Okay, have I lost my mind? Let's see. Fog is none. See. Oh, I wonder. Oh. This must be getting set by the... Is this getting set in the setter of the... Let's see, where are you? Okay, so... All right, so let's go ahead and put the debug down here. Right here. Let's see what happens in this one. All right, so we get our scene. Okay, we don't care about this one anymore. Let's keep going. Okay, we don't care about this one anymore either. Okay, at this point, Okay, fog is blank. Our ID is -1. Our animate, yeah, it is. How did it get a blank fog? Let's look at our console. Well, so the thing that's funny about that is, um, and I had mentioned this in. Okay, so anyways, what happens is this doesn't actually show you the value when it happened. It's a lot of times the console shows you the value now, not when the code executed, which is really weird. Um, but something, and this is sort of the. Remember, I was saying that, oh, I really want to just see what kind of bugs end up happening because I actually send a reference to the original. So a few videos back, I was just like, they put a lot of effort into when in any of the state man like NGRX and those things, into not sending you an actual reference. They only send you, they kind of send you a copy of the reference, not an actual reference, whenever they send you stuff. And I was just like, but I want to leave it where I'm sending the reference because I want to see what kind of bugs appear. And it looks like my wish has been granted because I think something is setting the fog value to blank. So let me put a break on line 48 in the debugger. So, or like line 50. All right. Yes, something outside of the service is actually updating the scene. And it's updating it to something that, okay, so fog is none right now. Okay, so now let's go a few more. Okay, so let's look at the form controls. Fog. Oh, okay, value is blank. This scene. So somewhere between here and here, that value ended up getting, fog got sent from none to empty. And that is weird. That is really, really strange. Okay, so fog is none. Step. Fog is still none. Step, step, step. Fog is none. So I'm wondering if it's something outside of this. Okay, what is, fog is still none. Now I'm taking this control value and I'm setting the value to this dot scene dot fog, which, oh my gosh, that's weird. When did it change? Let's try this and reload. Okay, fog is blank until I run this, till this set value of on animated gets called. All right. And fog is blank. That is a good one. That is a really, really good one. What is happening there? Between line 50, like when line, okay, so before line 56 runs, fog is none. Scene.fog is none. But after, and I'm wondering if it's something that's happening in this subscription. Let's run that. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, so I'm guessing, I think scene of fog is none. None, yeah. Let's hit run. Ah, now we're down here. That is so interesting the way that code is executing. That it's executing this subscription before it finishes this set of code. I'm wondering, yeah, that is so wild. And this is a little different because so the subscription gets set. Where does the subscription get set? Where does that subscription? Oh, this value change. Okay, so that gets set, like in like whenever the whole component is being created. Um, and so the subscription is waiting, but I would have still thought that this line of code would execute before this, but it didn't. Okay, so um, it seems like we should not set that um, subscription until the form has been initialized, um, or at the very least, until well, not yeah. So the form. Oh yeah, until yeah, we really shouldn't be setting that subscription until the form is initialized. So I don't know if the renderer, and now we should probably be like, so this form gets initialized, and then it seems like if the form was not initialized. Okay, so first of all, we should probably only set this to true if it's not true. And then we should also do the subscription. Now the yeah, subscription. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be weird to code. But okay, just to sum up what's happening is this code, this subscription code is running after this animation is fired off. And then it's since it's running, it's setting the fog to blank, to empty, because and then it's getting to the next line and doing that. So theoretically, if I just swapped out these lines, that's not the answer, but just theoretically, if I swap out those two lines, it should work. Um, if you do that, you're just making an absolute nightmare for the next developer that comes behind you, because that's weird. Um, and it is very strange that some other code runs between line 56 and 57. And it just kind of shows you like sort of the nature of working with a framework. They're obviously like going through this, and this is not a criticism. It might sound like a criticism. I feel like anytime you use the word obviously, people think you're criticizing. I'm not criticizing, but what they're clearly doing is they're transpiling this code in such a way that it's not behaving like you would expect JavaScript, which is kind of a huge part of why Angular is great, is because they do that. But so theoretically, if my understanding is correct, this fog, if it runs before this animated set value, if it's the very first set value, then this won't get overwritten. The problem is, and that's probably why I did this weird stuff. Um, so uh, the problem is that, let's see, you know, like what else is going to need to run first? Like we really don't want that. Oh, it still didn't work though. Okay, so let's put our debugger here again. Yeah, we still end up here with this form value running here. So like a part of me says, oh, why don't we just set it to none up there? But I just don't think that is going to be like something that I'll be able to remember in the future. Man, these days, because this was another one of those days where I was like, oh, this is going to be a really quick day. But we've run into an issue. Um, so to I don't want to set the subscription until the form is initialized. I don't want to set the values changes subscription until the form is completely initialized. And I don't remember why I was checking to see if the render existed before I set the cache shadows, but I don't think. Okay, first of all, I do think that in general you should probably do this. There's nothing wrong with saying like not initializing unless it not marking it as initialized unless that like there's I don't think there's any problem with that. Then I do think it is going to be slightly. So I created a subroutine in there. And then I never even do anything with sub. Oh, okay, so that's fine then. I thought I was doing something with that. Okay, that's didn't take enough. All right. So now I'm going to create my constant sub in here. And then I'm going to say this dot subs dot push sub. So I don't know if this is going to work. I think it's going to work. My gut tells me this is going to work. Basically, I don't want to set this subroutine, this value change subscription until the whole form um, is uh, is initialized. Now I don't really understand what this is all about. This render. What is this render? Render interface. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. Um, I don't know when it gets set. Let's see. Let's look that up. Okay. So apparently this render gets set here. Gets the render item values. Um, and then if that exists, then it sets the cache, the cache shadows. And then if the form hasn't, so if this were to happen, yeah, because this is going to happen every time. The render is going to be exist. Um, so, anyways, let's see what happens. Done. All right, so this code is weird. I'm not going to deny it. All right, I do believe it's not. I think it's good code. I think it's or effective code. Um, so here's the deal. Um, Apparently, this renderer does not. Uh, there's some sort of timing issue for when this renderer exists, and until it exists, we can't complete the form. Um, so I don't understand what that's all about. We could probably go back and look at old videos and see what that was all about, but whatever, the, there's probably no reason to spend the time to figure that out. But the thing is, the form is not ready at this point until this thing is true. So I added some code to say, hey, like basically what's happening is probably every time there was an effect, um, I was setting the value of render's shadow to whatever render shadow, whatever the render shadow's value is. I believe that's this thing that's set there. So there was some sort of like that. This is probably, I think, probably the actual ThreeJS renderer scene management component renderer. So ThreeJS, I have a renderer, and well, it's renderer interface though. That's probably ours though. So, anyways, so at some point we set the renderer of the scene to true. So, and then let's go look at that. See what that is. Go to definition. Yeah, and the only thing it can do is cast shadows. Um, so we created a renderer interface. The only thing it has is it can cast shadows. Um, then in the 3JS, not the 3JS service, but in the scene manager, at some point that renderer exists. I don't know why it doesn't always exist. I guess there's probably a timing issue between the render signal and the scene signal. And basically, I don't want to complete the form until the render signal is done. I guess there's a timing issue there. Um, I don't know why I can count on um, the signal, um, the scene signal being done first, um, but apparently I can. Probably it may be a timing issue. I do not. This may come back to bite me in the butt in the future um, when there's more. This may come back to bite. Like maybe these we won't be able to depend on that. This is sort of a classic race race condition because basically I'm saying that hey, if the render is done, we're done. Where are you? Right. So I set this stuff up. Set up the renderer. I guess it does make sense because I have two things going on here. I have this guy, which is a signal, and I have this guy that's a signal. I guess since I'm asking for this one second, it does make sense that it would happen. But I'm saying that like unless the renderer exists, then the cast shadow shouldn't exist, and then um, if it does exist, then we can go ahead and initialize the form. That means like all these form values are for reals, and then we can subscribe to changes. But before this form thing is real, we probably shouldn't subscribe to any changes. Before we were subscribing to changes basically on creation of the application. Now we're subscribing to changes only after the form is complete. The weird thing that like really just blows my mind is that the subscription fires between line 56 and 57. So like logically it makes sense that like um, if you change something, um, then the subscription should fire, but typically in JavaScript it fires in order. I mean, it finishes the like 55 fires after 56 and then 57 fires. But I guess these are like asynchronous calls. Set value is an asynchronous call, so I guess it makes sense that then 56 fires as an asynchronous call, 57 fires as an asynchronous call, and then the loops complete, which all the subscriptions, I guess, fire, and then the next one fires, and then all the subscriptions fire again, and then the next one fires. It's confusing, it doesn't really make sense completely. But it does seem to be working now. We come over here, go here, linear. Now we got linear, we have our linear form, exponential, our linear form is gone. So this is very interesting. I would love to say that like um, I have a full grasp of exactly what's going on here. Um, I definitely to me it definitely makes sense that you would not want to set the um, subscription. So the value changes. You wouldn't want to set this handler until all the form stuff is done, until the form is completely built and all the values are set. Um, and like this problem could have easily, like a quick dirty fix could have, I think, could have been to um, up here. And it might even be this that is is kicking off that um, initial run. Yeah, I bet you it is this. Well, it shouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know. There's some sort of weird timing issue here, but if I had to set that to none, then we would have been okay. But I just didn't. I just didn't want to do that to my future self because I'm assuming more things are going to come, and as more things come into this, I don't want to just be like trying to figure out another way to like twist in. I think in the future this solution is going to be okay for everything as I keep adding more things in, more controls and more values in. This is fine because until this form is initialized, um, we're good. Now, I think it does make sense to, I guess, set these two form controls before I call the renderer. I think that makes sense. Set those values. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see if I end up with that weird value changed bug that error that you'll see in the console a lot. I don't even know. We may already have that. Okay, we don't. So I don't know. It's definitely less than satisfying. Um, you know, Trying to work with forms and signals and then ThreeJS and all these different things with asynchronous calls in there can kind of be a little bit mind uh, bending um, and not necessarily programmatically predictable, I guess might be a goofy way of explaining it. Um, I definitely like it when code makes like solid sense. And then like kind of the more it makes a little bit less sense, um, or not quite as solid. Like I think I can make this argument, and I think, you know, like if I was talking to somebody, it's just like I could put a bunch of mumbo jumbo together to make it all make the person who's listening think it makes sense. But it is goofy. But I think it does. I think it is reasonable to say that I don't know why I set up two different signals. I'm not sure if it was like some sort of experimental thing or something like that. But I set up a signal here and a signal here. This effect runs when the scene signal fires, and then the whole thing runs again when the renderer signal files. Here, I guess since I'm calling it second, and it does make sense that this one would run before this one, this second, all of this code runs and is executed, and it's fine. Like setting this to red twice is fine. This to green, all that stuff is okay. Um, Setting these form values are fine. Like, so when the renderer fires and it goes back through, it just sets all those values, and that's perfectly fine. And then this render, and then I say, hey, this form is initialized. And I say, when the renderer is, go ahead and set the value that's from the renderer value. Um, and then, and I guess probably the reason I did it is because the renderer is its own ThreeJS object. And then the scene is a different ThreeJS object. But like to the user, to me, as the user, you know, casting shadows and setting the scene color are like the same. It's like the same subject matter. But like for ThreeJS, it's too different. Casting shadows is different than setting the color. And so I guess maybe for like precision, and I think it does make sense, I have two different signals, one that says when the renderer is ready to roll and one that says when the scene is ready to roll. And then I ask for the renderer to be set up second. So I guess, at least for the time being, I can count on this renderer being the second one called. Um, it might make sense. It probably does make sense to say, and this dot scene, because then I know that both of them exist, just in case something changes in the future, and you can't count on the order. Like theoretically, I think we should be able to, as JavaScript developers, count on line 55 firing, or line 56 firing before anything else fires. Like this line of should fire and then this fire. But that's not true. And that's because I my belief is that's because the set value is an asynchronous call. So that means that this, since it's an asynchronous call, this line gets pushed to the end of the call stack. And then this line also gets pushed to the end of the call stack. And then a bunch of other code runs. And apparently some of that other code runs before the way I had it coded was the subscriptions, the value change subscription. That was running before line 56 was running. And whatever. I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, that sense can be made of that. Um, Now, the thing is, it makes more sense that line 55 and 56 would fire before those changes fired, but I think it also makes sense that these asynchronous calls get fired. I also think it makes sense that this signal would exist and fire before this signal would exist and fire. I think that makes perfectly good sense, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be true. So I think that if all I say is if this renderer is true, um, and this scene is true, then go ahead and finish up the form. Now, I guess it might make sense to say if this render is true, then go ahead and set up the cast shadows. Go ahead and set the value for cast shadows, but really, what's the difference? Let's say the reverse changes, then, and I think I should be able to just be like this too. Like, I don't know if there's really any reason to set, like, I don't know if that would break anything. It doesn't seem like that would break anything to me. It would make me feel better about my understanding if that doesn't break anything. Yeah, see, so that makes sense to me. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, that makes about a 8.5 cents to me. Um, but what I was just saying makes more sense to me. I think I feel a little more confident about what I was just saying. That like these two things, really, we shouldn't even be. I mean, it makes more sense to set these things only these to execute these form controls only if the render signal has come back and the scene signal has come back. The scene signal will come back, I guess, the way they tease out this code. The scene signal will come back and execute all this code before the render will come back. So, you know, that's where we're at. I don't know about this red. It doesn't matter as much because there aren't um, there's no like event handler. You know, this this subs this value changes. There's nothing like that for those, so it's okay, I think, for those to set. Although we do run the risk of the uh, well, we only run the risk of this throwing causing that weird value change before it could be updated error if those values actually did change. But I don't think those values change. I think they stay the same when they get called. Um, so, anyways, yeah, this is one of those things that like makes people really like frustrated with Angular, but it honestly is kind of the best, probably the best answer that when you're dealing with asynchronous issues and stuff like that, there's just no good answers. Um, and we're doing these effects, and the effects are fairly new, and they're trying to kind of come up with something that's a little easier to deal with than like um, RxJS, which is frustrating for all of us that have spent tremendous number of hours learning RxJS, and now they're kind of moving away from it. And if this kind of like your first rodeo, like if this is the first time you've like learned a new technology, and then like and poured your heart and soul into learning that technology, and then the industry starts to move away from that technology, and you just want to dig your heels in, um, that's a mistake. You have to open up and be willing to go with changes because the new you are a young buck or a young, I don't know what a female young doe, and you're spring chicken or spring rooster, and it's your first time through. And I know it seems like you've learned a way, and that way works, and it's a good way, but now there's a different way, and it's not going to be very long before you're no longer a spring chicken or spring rooster or young buck or young doe, and things have changed, and the new people, you'll just look like a weirdo to them, like just some old person stuck in their ways. You have to be open to change. Signals, I think signals and effects are here to stay. They're not perfect, but they are probably easier to understand than the previous ways. Anyway, man, how long was this? Oh, let's see. Oh my God, 43 minutes. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.